Ray, I heard you earlier in our conversation talking about tax and spend. We've talked a little bit about the spending, a little bit less about the taxes so far. And obviously, there's been a lot of buzz, particularly on Bay Street this week, about bank taxes, some of those record profits we saw from the big players during the pandemic. One of the ways, I suppose, this government's going to find a way to pay for some of these programs. How have you been feeling about the way by which this seems to be targeted?
So I think one of the times I participated with BNN last year, I made my feelings quite clear. At that point in time, I indicated very clearly that I thought it did not represent good policy to target and penalize specific industries. I feel very strongly that way, notwithstanding the fact that I work in banking, and it might sound self-serving. I think what we have to look at is the nature of setting a really bad precedent, if you will. Look, where the banks are concerned in particular, a mix of monetary accommodation, quantitative easing, and a general response to the pandemic, in large part helped create some of the same profits that the government is now looking to tap into. But I think they need to stop for a moment and just give some consideration to what the ramifications might be and what it looks like. When you look at Canada right now, our reality is that we're solely dependent on foreign money to finance our current account. And growth enhancing investment currently is also very, very lagging in Canada. So if we're going to attract foreign capital, if we're going to attract foreign investments, do you want to send a message to them that, hey, you go into this particular sector, you invest in this particular sector, you might get penalized along the way for success? I don't think that's appropriate. That's my takeaway. And like I said, coming from the banking world, it may seem and sound self-serving, but I think look to any number of other industries. If they were targeted, I suspect that the response would not be dissimilar.
Well, Anne, I want to bring you back into the conversation because obviously you talked earlier in the conversation about the economic road ahead and our path going forward. And there has been, we've heard from a lot of people on BNN Bloomberg this week, a concern similar to what Ray is talking about of the perception of Canada when you see these specific industries that are targeted. What's your take?
Well, I think I agree with what Ray has said in terms of the banking sector. I don't like surtaxes. Obviously, we do use them in certain cases, but singling out a particular industry, and I think, why would you single out banking? Banking is one of the singular successes. Canada is viewed, and Ray would know better than me, but I think around the world, in terms of having a remarkable banking industry and a remarkable regulatory regime that has provided stability and certainty in so many ways going forward. And yes, they're also very profitable.
Right.
But it bothers me that we would single out banks for some kind of special windfall tax or whatever it is going to be called. Obviously, I live in Alberta. There are other industries that can be singled out, I suppose, in other ways. But I guess I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of singling out particular industries for tax increases unless there's been a thoughtful discussion with the industry